Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Space Between podcast with myself, Pete, and Aaron. And we've just been chatting before we hit the record button. And for once, we've come without any real plan or idea about what we're going to talk about. So, this may be an interesting development to see where this conversation takes us today. But Pete, you were saying something about patience. Just came to you
Yeah,
just as you hit
yeah.
record.
I mean, like I said, no kind of agenda for discussion really right now, but it's just an observation really over the past couple of weeks that you know, I've always been kind of, I guess, criticized for being quite an impatient person, and you know, sometimes moving fast and wanting things to happen straight away, and I don't really lose my temper, but I do get impatient sometimes, especially with an 11-year-old in the house as well. Um, but since going through this, you know, the three principles coaching and all the stuff that the three of us have been through, it's definitely helped me to be able to see when like those signs that like, yep, Pete, you're starting to kind of lose control a little bit, you know, and try to pull it back. Um, but I would say I am moderately good at doing that, even after all this time now of like understanding that it's just the mind's dialogue, just like, oh, you want something a certain way, it's not that way. So you're going to resist that, and that creates frustration, and you just lash out. So I kind of like I know all of that. But there are times when I don't know if my daughter doesn't put her shoes on in time, or she's late for the school bus and she's taken her time, and I can see myself getting frustrated and impatient, and then lashing and hear myself lashing out saying, you're gonna miss the bus again. It's not good enough. It's not. And then I feel disappointed in myself, not necessarily just because I've lashed out, but because, Pete, you should know better, because you know the mechanism behind it. At least most of the people out there, they lash out because they just lash out and that's what they do. Like, it's in a way, sometimes it's worse when I know the mechanism behind it, that it's just the mind and it's not real, and it's nothing to do with the external circumstance. It's all an internal dialogue that you're creating for yourself. Nothing to do with what my daughter's done in terms of being slow to put her shoes on. That's just my reaction. Another person could react very differently to exactly the same scenario. So it's not the external scenario that's causing it, it's my own voice. And I know all of that. And despite knowing all of that, it still happens.
Yeah.
And I,
Because
I
you're
understand,
still a
I understand
human
it.
being, Pete.
It's human, right? I
Yeah.
get it, but I do like for a few minutes afterwards, I feel annoyed and disappointed at myself,
Yeah.
you know? I don't know
It's
if you
very
guys feel the
easy in the
same.
moment, isn't it, to forget whatever you know, whatever you understand about how we create our own experiences. It's very easy for that knee-jerk autopilot to kick in,
Yeah.
and in that split second, you don't have that time to rein it in. It just automatically comes out of you.
Yeah.
But uh, I find with this understanding, it's the recovery time that's shortened,
Yeah.
and that that understanding allows you to take a step back. Maybe too late in the moment, but it allows you to take that step back, reconsider things, and start to repair whatever's happened. Like you might express your impatience, but then you'll go and give your daughter a cuddle and say, "Yeah, come on, let's go."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You're right, Steve. That's a good point actually about the recovery, that I don't dwell
Mm.
on it too much anymore, because after the event, even though I sometimes can feel disappointed, I still know why it happened. So the recovery is easier because I know that was just m me, you know, and it wasn't about what happened. It was about my account of what happened, and that's personal to me, you know, and so that helps in terms of then, because it was me, then I don't need to keep hold of that. I can just let that go and move on. I definitely, that's definitely been a difference from the past, where I can, even some of the bigger things, I can let go of them more easily because A, I caused it in the first place, so there's nobody else to blame, really, ever. And B, do you want to hold on to that? Because it doesn't serve you any purpose whatsoever. It's a situation that happened, and now it's gone. So now experience the next moment, you know?
When you say recovery, what do you mean by that? Like, is it like taking responsibility, moving through it? What do you like? I'm just curious for people listening because it's just I'm hearing something like, are you taking accountability, recognizing it, that, not brushing it off type thing? Because, we can't do that. And sometimes our kids or whoever's in front of us is they get it when
Yeah.
it's yours, right? And you're in your head or unable to hold that, like you said, Steve, of being able to, it's just so fast, right? And I think that's the growth when you're able to see that split second and go, something's coming, but what is it? And that's when if you're able to catch that one, and that's part of it. But I was just curious, when you say recovery from something like that, what do you mean, just on the side of it?
For me, it's just recognizing, what's happened. It was an automatic response almost. It's uh, comes from your conditioning, your previous programming, and it's just an automatic reaction. And but recognizing it as quickly as possible, and like I said, just trying to rectify it, not in the moment, but as soon as possible afterwards, so that you're not dwelling on it beyond uh, admit it developing into a bigger issue than it needs to be. You can correct it as soon as you've recognized it. Sorry, I didn't mean to snap at you. That
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And yeah,
So
it's that
taking that
space so
ownership.
that you're not dwelling in it. And if there's somebody else involved, they're not having to dwell on it as well. It's dealt with there and then, rather than going your separate ways for the day, and you're both mulling it over. And like I say, once you start going over things in your mind, it develops into something that it never was in the first place. It can be addressed there and then, recognized there and then. And that's what I meant by the recovery.
Yeah. Same for me, Steve, really. It's, learning from the experience is just fine
Mhm.
because that's why we have experiences, right? Is to learn from them. So if that results in, an apology to your daughter or a learning that you have from a situation. But when I mean recovery is those feelings of, disappointment and regret and sometimes anger at yourself, they don't really serve any they don't really serve any purpose. You've learned from the event, you have to keep hold of all of that negativity from it. And as you say, Steve, if you hold on to it, it will get bigger. It will escalate into, oh no, but you're always like that. That's the kind of person you are. People, you know what? Most people don't like that kind of person that you are. In fact, most people don't like you. In fact, there's what's the point of even having friends? All of that from your daughter not tying her shoelaces. It's pointless. But it does happen. We've all experienced that, the amplification of a simple thought. So try to let that go before it amplifies. But to your point, Aaron, still, don't discount the experience because then you don't learn, So you've got to walk that line between the two, I think.
Yeah, so taking responsibility for it, ownership, and just
Yeah.
leaning into that, like not dismissing what happened, but just being apologetic, empathetic, like, hey, that's on me. Like there's no reason for that. I sometimes feel like it's never really the shoes being not being tied fast enough. It's always what's previous. So like if you have an injury come in, right? So a bad back or whatever, you all of a sudden tweak yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it's an event prior, but then that one last movement, you shift to go get the coffee off the shelf, and like you're you're like, oh, the coffee did it. Or you know what I mean? Those moments, it's really
Yeah.
never the coffee type thing. It's
Yeah.
always something that's building. And like you were saying, it's part of our mind or thinking. How did you wake up throughout the day? What's been going on the last previous couple days? Those types of things can, influence the way that moment happens. And sometimes it's not never really the smoothest, and it's never really meant to be as a capacity to hold that for just a little bit longer. Is it a matter of sleeping? Is it a matter of looking at, what did you do earlier? Those types of things come into my thinking about like what happened, what created that moment at that time. But, also working through that, I think one of you two said it about being okay, the shame, the guilt that comes in with it.
Mm.
Not staying there too long. When you take that responsibility, the ownership, being apologetic, that helps to create awareness. And I think that's what these moments need to really bring to a head is that awareness of these moments, of that rise, of that moment to try to just de-escalate it as quick as you can. I don't know if
Yeah.
that lands or if it
Yeah.
hits or if just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
is it
It definitely does. It definitely does, Aaron. And to know that, um, all of this is part of being human. It's not a matter of never experiencing this. You will and you should, but it's not holding on to it because that becomes our ownership, right? We can decide to hold on to it or not after the fact. But the fact that it happens, I remember I heard somewhere somebody say about this story about this monk who like he was a Buddhist monk and he'd been meditating for 50, 60 years. He was a guru. He was totally calm and placid and almost you could say he was enlightened or whatever. And one of his students asked him, Master, so you never get angry then? And he said, Of course I get angry. But he said, it's like getting angry is like writing on water. It's there for a split second and then it goes away. So he'd mastered this, right? But he said, but you have to still experience the anger because we're here to experience stuff. We're not
yeah.
here to hold on to stuff. So almost like give yourself a bit of a break as well. Like if you do, and so that does occur to me at times when I lose it a little bit, is all the things we talked about, but also that consideration that, but I am a human being. Like human beings do this, just
Yeah.
like a cat licks its paws. You know what I mean? It's a natural thing for us to do, and we should be okay with it, but not hold on to it because each one is just another learning experience. Does that make
That's
sense?
self-acceptance. Yeah, self-acceptance. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, it's like being okay. Yeah, it doesn't forgive everything, but at the same time, yeah, it's seeing that and go, okay, I'm gonna do better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it just gave the space between it rising and you actually responding. It's the space between again. It comes into
Yeah.
every conversation we have, lads. Like that's such a well-named podcast.
I didn't think of it in that sense either. I've always considered it the space between the thoughts. Like but that's a very good valid point, man. Like and you're like the space between that rise. That's where the work is. That's where the growth happens. That's where we can really, really see ourselves and truly be innate, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we're talking here about kind of small examples, right? But there are much bit like something you've said to someone that caused them distress or something that you did at work that, was a mistake and you regret it. And all of these, like there are things like, especially the work related things that most people they can take that home with them and really worry sleepless nights, about something that's happened, some comment you made or whatever, um, and again, it's the same process for the big things as the small things as well. The emotions may be more powerful, but you know, most of the emotions you feel are not real. They're not real emotions, right? It's the mind's way of creating an emotional charge so that you remember this and you don't do it again, so it protects you, right? But your mind doesn't know any difference between the wrong comment to a colleague at work and some threat, some danger to your life kind of thing, it reacts the same way. But a threat to your life will come and it will go. And if you survive it, then fine, move on, learn from it. Don't go to that bush again. But don't dwell on it. What if it comes back again? What if this happens? What if that happens? I wish I hadn't gone close to that bush. I wish I'd carried a club with me and whatever. All of that, just no, you don't need any of that, you know. It's exactly the same reaction when you've said something to somebody at work and they didn't like it and they've talked to your boss about it. It's like, oh my God, what I don't know, I wish I hadn't done that. Why did I do that? Learn from it, know that you shouldn't do that again, or you should, or whatever. Deal with the situation, but don't dwell on the emotions that come out of it too much because they mutate into something bigger than they need to be. They just will if left unchecked, you know?
When you said that, there was something in there you said, but that I had to relax. I had to like soften. Like I had to take a deep breath and I kind of I dropped. I don't know if that like my shoulders dropped, my stomach just like softened and it felt good. But I don't there was something about your what you said about emotions that and you holding on to them and just it felt really good to kind of just recognize that myself because sometimes we sit here and we get hunched over again and that's the building of the mind, the intensity in the body that brings up that emotion that's sometimes that comes up too quick. When we're able to see it and soften, it helps to kind of expand that and allow it to be, you know, less abrasive.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The more I think about it, the more I think like you know, it does happen quite a lot. Even just very small things that I may not even be interacting with another person on it, but I feel like, this internal dialogue, why, you know, I don't know, I made a coffee and spilt it. Like, why did you do that on a new carpet? Oh God, Pete, why didn't you hold the coffee more? Why didn't you be aware of, you know, you were walking over a carpet and you just drop
Yeah.
all these little,
Yeah.
like, it can happen multiple times a day, you know? And then I can be sitting there thinking an hour later, why did I do? I don't understand why I didn't hold the coffee more securely. It, it just stays with you. It just naturally stays with you. And sometimes I find myself laughing like, "You're back again. Why? Why are you back again? You don't need to come back. I know I'm not going to do that again. Done, done, over. Thank you." You know, but not fighting it, not like quite, you know, resisting it. It's like, oh, I see you're here again. Just like, you know, somebody is walking through your house, like, okay, there's the front door, and by the way, there's the back door. Off you go. You know, but not pushing them. Just they'll go out the back door eventually. Um, that can happen a lot, you know, and when you accumulate all those things, that sometimes I feel like at the end of the day, when I think, oh, I've had a really bad day, a lot of it was an accumulation of those things that I just kept hold of that I shouldn't have, you know?
Okay. Yeah, tell us about that. I like that. That's really, I like how like, yeah, because it is an accumulation, right? It's that I never, yeah. Tell us more, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that, you know, I mean, for me, there definitely is like holding on to these the kind of like energies, you know. There's like the yoga traditions, they have these energies inside your body called samskaras. They get trapped in your body, and they're trapped emotions that should have been let go, and you don't let them go. You hold on to them, big and small, right? And they deplete your energy in your body. So there's times when, you know, I can, you know, have the same day as yesterday but feel a lot tireder about it, you know, a lot more exhausted at the end of the day. And sometimes I feel like it's because I've kept a lot of these trapped energies that are just these emotions that were caused by me, really, right? I mean, you could say they were caused by an external event that took place, like dropping coffee on a carpet or something. Um, but really, it wasn't. That was just coffee dropping on a carpet. Um, it was my not only my emotional response to it, but the fact that I kept hold of it. That takes energy. There's a price to pay for holding on to these things when you don't need to. So you drop your coffee in your carpet, then you stub your toe on a chair, then the car won't start. that you've kept all those three things. Then you start thinking, today is a shitty day. It's conspiring against me. Oh, poor me. Then you get into victim mode. That takes energy. Like, and all of these things, you could just let them all go, but often we choose not to. And then you're sitting on the sofa at the end of the day exhausted, even though you've just done the same things you did the day before and don't understand why you're so tired. You're so tired because you've held on to stuff. It's like, I don't know, like pushing a cork like into water. Like it takes work to keep that pressed down when all it wants to do is just come up to the surface. And it's your choice to let it go. So if you do, you'll just be more, you'll have more, you're more energized and less negatively inclined to think this was an awful day. God, I hope tomorrow isn't as bad as today was. There's nothing bad about today, only you made it so.
Yeah, I love it.
You know?
The analogy, I love that. Like you're essentially stuffing all the versions of you inside the house and never opening the door to let them walk through. Like if you picture yourself as you're walking through and you just used that analogy before, you said, you just opening the door and letting them walk through, right? And just letting the wind, the day, everything go with it. But then you're stuffing all the versions of you that's cursing about the coffee, cursing about breaking the pencil, the car breaking down, whatever, and they're all sitting there having the conversation,
Yeah.
right? And they're all just standing there and you
And
never
you're
open the
you're holding on
door.
to them. You're desperately holding on to them, and that's taking energy away from you.
Yeah.
Energy that you don't need to expend doing that at all.
Yeah, we all do that too,
We
right?
all
We
do.
all keep everybody in the kitchen conversating. They're all the versions of you throughout that day that are just never letting go. Just open that door, open that window, and just let it go, right? It's
Yeah,
just it's exactly what it is. It's cool.
yeah,
It's fun.
yeah,
There's a very short cycle involved there. We get to choose our response to anything.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true
Not
too.
always in the moment. Sometimes it's automatic, but if we take that step back, we can choose how to respond, and that determines what our outcome is. But then that outcome becomes the next input.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
like you say, if you're not letting go of that initial outcome, you're just going round and round in a very short energy sapping cycle.
Mm.
And it's going back to that recovery again, isn't it? It's right. Hang on a second. I need to let go of this. This is my response on this turn round the cycle.
yeah,
I'm letting go. I'm moving on.
yeah, yeah. I often think
And
that's like my wife and I do talk about this sometimes when we're having a day where like multiple things just don't seem to be going right. We'll stop and say like we've got to change our frequency. Like
Yeah.
we've hit the wrong frequency right now. And the only way to do that is to clear the frequency. And that doesn't mean sitting down there and meditating or anything like that. It just means literally just let it go. Let
Pure
it all go.
awareness.
Just psychologically just feel like I'm letting all of this go. The fact that, A happened and then straight away B happened and C, it is the output fed the input. And it got you onto a negative frequency. And I'm a big believer in there's every chance then that the next thing that happens, because all of our experiences are internal, are ourselves. If we're already on this negative spiral, then yeah, you could bet your bottom dollar that you're gonna walk into the house and trip over the dog. It's going to happen. And sure enough, it does. And that's like, yeah, there you go, bad frequency. If you just let it go, it changes. It does. I'm not talking about we impact the external world. I'm saying that we don't experience the external world. We experience our own world. And if we change our own internal frequency, our experience changes. Does that make sense? I'm going a bit woohoo there now.
Yeah.
That
We
I
have a choice,
big
right? We have
believer
a
in that.
choice. That decision, we have a choice to make. We can choose what we feel, what we think in every moment, right? And I think that's the general topic around patience, right? And just having Pete, you said it, or Steve, you said it, like that. We have a choice. We can make a decision on what we choose. And I love that because that's huge. And same, right? We can stop and pause and go, why isn't anything happening my way? We can choose to clear that and bring our awareness to the present. And that allows us to kind of reset. And when we're able to reset, like you said, we are able to ground in the moment and go, okay, all that stuff is gone. None of it matters. It happened, and we're still holding everybody in the kitchen. but we haven't let everybody out. And bringing back to that center, that presence is really that grounding, that awareness of what's happening, not allowing it to affect us. Because I
Yeah.
think that's where we get tripped up, is that it's always constantly repeating in our minds and we're thinking about it and it's just on repeat. And then we can pause. And I love that idea of resetting and choosing that we have an opportunity to move forward with our direction, with our thoughts, with our thinking, and have that moment of reset, choosing our direction. And I love that about it. And like that's the patience, right? That's how we choose to be patient.
Yeah. Yeah. People like clients sometimes say, like when that analogy of the house, for example, it's like, oh, but what? I can't do that. What do I need to do to let go?
Yeah,
And it's the wrong question, really. It's what you don't do. It's
yeah,
not doing that's the key, right? It's like keeping your hands around all of those people in your house, keeping those doors locked. That's not actually not natural. If you look at most animals, they don't do that. Cats and dogs don't hold on to grudges. Do you know what I mean? Like we're the only animals that can do that, right? I think more or less anyway. Um,
absolutely.
it's not a matter of I have to work to let go. It's what you don't do to let go. Literally, like if you're squeezing something in your hand, you're doing something. If you let go of it, by definition, you're just not doing anything now. And that's the key, I think, is when these emotions come up and, you have these events of, I don't know, impatience or anger or losing it or whatever, the sooner you can let it go, um, the better you're going to feel. And letting it go is just deciding. It literally is deciding to not keep it, you
Seeing the
know?
value of that outcome, that's not so good. Being able to see that negative side effect that you're on repeat and you're beating yourself up over and over
Yeah.
and over again,
Yeah.
and it's that bringing that, and that's the hardest thing to do, I think, in this journey, is recognizing that is the problem. Like when you're able to step aside from that creates a better life.
Yeah. Yeah. Because these emotions, there's the irony about the people in the house. They
Yeah.
want to leave. They want to walk out. They genuinely do. They don't need to stay. They served a purpose. They came in, they said hi, and they left. They had to do that. They had to come in and go out. That's what they do. That's their purpose. But they do want to
Yeah.
leave. None
Yeah.
of them want to stay. It's our decision to close that door and keep them in because I don't know, because we're gonna learn from it, or I don't know, there's some psychology going on there that the mind thinks if I keep hold of it, there'll be a constant reminder that I shouldn't stub my toe, that I shouldn't drop the coffee, that I shouldn't trip over the dog. It's a constant reminder that I shouldn't do that, just in case it happens again. Don't need to do that. Let it go. Let it go out. If you trip over the dog again, fair enough, it'll happen. It's an accident, but let it go again. That's all just part of being human. It's how the engine works. You know?
The people in the kitchen are only getting grumpier, right? We gotta like they gotta
Yeah,
get out somehow, and
yeah,
that's
yeah,
the like that, right? So
exactly. They get
they're
angrier
talking
and
more. They're having
louder.
that they're having that water cooler conversation where they're just like talking, and it's just escalating, and
Yep,
then yeah, right. It's kind of how it
yep.
works. It's just kind of yeah,
That's how it works. It's actually funny if you can take a more comical approach to it, and look at it. It's like, I love that analogy actually, because it's comical, really, what we
yeah.
do, but we all do it, you
Not
know.
on purpose though, right? Yeah,
But
not on
but but
purpose.
it's not. It's just a result of all of our programming, and that the mind defaults to let's. If that's a bad experience, keep hold of it.
Yeah,
It's like it's an analogy of like you go to a restaurant and you eat food that disagrees with you. So what do you do? Rather than just like get up and leave the restaurant, you put it in a box, you bring it home, put it in the fridge, and have some more tomorrow, just to remind you how bad that food was. Just keep just keep eating that, just to remind you not to go to that restaurant again. No, you can throw it all away, just not go to the restaurant again. You don't have to keep eating the bad food to remind you, but that's exactly what we do. We relive it, you know?
yeah,
That instant with my daughter and getting kind of wound up with it, she got really upset. It's like, Daddy, you're so angry. Why are you so angry? Um, I replayed that in my mind 20 times
yeah,
afterwards. It's just the same as eating the bad food, the food that made you sick. Why? I learned my lesson. But we do it. It's funny.
yeah.
Yeah, bad food.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
always have a choice, right? That decision to live from love, to live from the highest version, and sometimes we get caught up in those moments that are just, it's just part of being the experience, it's not forgiving, it's not accepting, but we have to learn from it and just go, okay, this is where I don't beat myself up and I do a better job next time at seeing that space between that rise, that understanding of it all. I think that's the growth of being a human and just really coming back to the central point of living here on this planet is just love and just being an expression of forgiveness and understanding. It's huge. It's the growth. That's what we're here to do.
I so agree with that. Like it's more than a belief for me. It's just kind of it's so like I so strongly believe in that we're here to experience stuff. That's the whole point of our journey is to experience it. And you can experience winning the lottery and you can experience the death of a loved one. They're just two experiences. Not a good one, not a bad one, just two experiences. So getting annoyed at your daughter for the shoelaces, or winning the lottery, just there's no like they're just things that are happening. That's it. We may label them as good things or bad things, but that's us. That's just humans that do that. You know, like a tree doesn't say when my leaves fall in the fall, fall off the tree in the fall, that's a bad thing because I'm losing part of myself. It's just that's what that's just a thing that's happening right now. And if you're able to sit back and look at these things, big and small, that happen to you that cause you to lose your temper or get impatient and stuff, if you're able to step back in the space between and think, it's another experience. It's another experience. That's all it is. You know, I'm going to learn from it and then I'm going to move on from it. And that's it. And now that's idealistic, but the closer you can get, at least make that a goal when it happens, or maybe after it happens, it puts things into context. It's just an experience. That's all it is. Your daughter didn't conspire against you that morning to not tie her shoelaces. She's living her own life, her own world. It's the car didn't start because it wanted to piss you off that morning. It just had a faulty carburetor, and that's the reason why it didn't start. There's a reason for it. Um, just necessary experiences for your growth, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Because there'll be other times where the shoelaces don't affect you, right?
Of
It won't
course,
be, won't
you know.
even be a process. It'll just kind of go and it'll just be, okay, was it really that part of the day?
Yep.
It was just really just me, what I was going through internally. And it was unneeded at times, but I need to see that in myself. And that's the accountability, that's the responsibility of ourselves as humans
Yeah.
to kind of see that, our
Yeah.
experience affects others. And when we change that and we have a choice, we can step into the higher version of
Just gonna
ourselves,
say that. Just gonna say that.
never really want to hurt anybody, never really want to step into that version, but we do, unfortunately. But, it's that growth, that accountability, the awareness afterwards that really kind of allows us to be that next version of shedding the leaves of the tree.
We
Yeah.
always have a
Just
choice.
something you said there, Aaron, just kind of connects to that cycle that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Is that input, our response, and that determines the outcome. But if there are other people involved, it's recognizing that whatever you've chosen as a response and determined the outcome, that outcome then becomes the input for the other person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's recognizing that cycle, and then it goes into their response, their intended outcome, and that becomes your next input. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just making sure that your intended outcome is actually ecological for everybody that's involved,
Yeah.
not just yourself personally.
And
Yeah.
control of ourselves, it helps to kind of, not trickle to others, right? And having that experience, that input, output, that's helpful. But, it's all understanding our own experience, but we also, that's the forgiveness side too. When we can see that, we all kind of experience that in sometimes some form, it's understandable, but it's also forgivable. And we can see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to something that you said earlier on, Pete, about the doing, I think sometimes we've got to recognize that load, well, it's a physical load or an emotional load, um, just in terms of um, addressing that and looking at it as subtraction rather than addition. So we're not wanting to add more things to do.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing when you're increasing the load with unnecessary overthinking, going over things 20 times. It's right, draw a line under that. It's not necessarily subtract that from your load.
Yeah.
And eventually you get down to that manageable load where you can live your life without all that churn going on in the background.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I ask myself,
Mm.
when I have this recurring thought after some event or whatever, or some feeling that I have, um, how is this helping me right now?
Mm.
Like, how is it? Because there are times when, like, you can have an event, and I thought, you know what? Let me just replay that and think if I could have done it any differently. Maybe then I can learn something from it. And that's you can kind of tell when you're having useful thoughts after an event versus especially the negative ones, right? It's like you're always like this. Why are you always like, people probably see this about you and don't like you because of it. In fact, I don't know whether your family even likes you because of it, but blah, 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 blah. Is that useful for me right now? No, thinking that my family don't like me, is that useful for me right now? No.
Mm.
It's not. Thinking that I maybe could have said it that way, and therefore I should apologize this way. Yeah, that's a thoughtful, action-based response to a situation, which is what our brains are designed to do. Um, but all the other thoughts, especially the negatively charged ones, if you can honestly ask yourself the question, is this serving me right now? Genuinely. And if it's not, then you can just let it go. You genuinely can, and it's mass. It's I found this so hard because to differentiate between the two, because I'd find myself dwelling on like, oh, maybe people think about this, and then I said that last week, and maybe thought people thought that about me that week as well. Oh yeah, and that phone call that wasn't returned, that's because they don't like me, and then people haven't liked me for a long time. Wait, where are you going with that? That makes no sense based on the event that just took place. Disconnect it and release it, you know? So that sometimes helps after the fact to just I kind of ask myself the question, is is this helping right now? Because if it's not, leave it. Literally leave it. Don't pay it any attention anymore. And if it was meant to serve you, it will come back in a useful way. But I think deep down we can see those useful thoughts versus the unnecessary negative ones, the critical ones. Um, and then we can make an active choice to let them go. I don't know. It helps. That question helps me because it just cuts to the chase,
Yeah.
you know? And I think you'll find, I don't know, I find that 95% of them are pointless.
Yeah.
Pointless.
Yeah. Repetitive thoughts.
Repetitive,
Seeing
useless.
that side. Go ahead.
No, they're just, again, they're just occupying space that they don't deserve and taking energy that you need, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Geez, lads, I didn't realize this conversation was going to go in this direction.
It's
Yeah,
always
we got pretty deep there. That's really useful. Because this is something that happens to everybody multiple times a day, and it can over a period of time, these things can accumulate and affect you. Affect you emotionally and psychologically, physically sometimes. And there's just for most of them, you don't need to. Um, but it's hard. That realization is hard for it to sink in because we're so used to keeping these things and holding on to them. Um, when you realize you really don't need to, that you actually understand that you don't need to, it's so liberating.
We think they're useful, right?
Yeah, but if you genuinely ask the question and answer it honestly inside, is it useful? Is that thought useful? Is that regret of spilling the coffee and how useless you are at spilling coffee, therefore how useless you are maybe as a person in life? No, that serves no purpose at all. You just don't spill coffee on the carpet anymore. Move on, and then save your energy for more productive things, like making a better Americano, maybe. I don't know.
I think sometimes we fall into the trap of no matter what we're busy with, as long as we're busy, we feel like we're doing something, we're being productive. But as you've said, it's recognizing in the moment, is this actually serving me? And a lot of the time it isn't. It's just repetition
Yeah,
for repetition's
yeah,
sake. You're
yeah,
not learning any more out of it.
yeah.
It's time to let it go.
Like that famous saying, we're human beings, not human doings. I
Yeah.
love that. Like it's it's so unacceptable just to be today. You have to do. Um, but some of the best moments I have in my life when I'm just sitting there not doing anything, not on the phone, not doing anything, just being. That's it. You know, that's our state. It's our natural state. And we do when we need to do, when we want to do, but we don't always have to do anything.
What's going
Even
on
in those,
inside your mind at that point there, Pete? Is there some kind of space between?
Ding. Yeah.
even in those moments, we're doing something, aren't we? We're actually recharging.
Yes.
It's
True.
Yeah.
taking that opportunity
True.
just to
Yeah.
settle and allow ourselves to recharge before we move on.
Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yep. Yep. Oh, should we wrap it
Yeah.
up there, guys? I think this is a really good, another really great conversation.
Yep.
On I mean, it wasn't even a topic we intended to talk about. It was just what's going on. And it just so happens I got shouted at by an 11-year-old about shoelaces this morning. There you go. It came into our journey of our life and letting go of negative emotions and stuff.
That's the
So,
benefit of coming in without a plan, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, I guess
freedom.
it is.
It
And
can
I tell
go
you, and do you
anywhere.
find, guys, like in all the conversations that we're having here about things that happen to us every day, good and bad, big and small, it all comes down to the same fundamental principle that most of the things that we experience are just in our own minds.
Mm.
It's all about this internal dialogue that a lot of the time is misinforming us, but we
Yeah.
believe it. You know, you could look at almost anything that happens to us, and almost everything can go back to that root cause. Is this constant voice that we have and what we
Mm.
choose to believe in it, you know? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, look, let's wrap it up and we'll get together again in a couple of weeks and do it all again.
Yeah.
Anybody
Just a
want to close?
reminder to everybody. We look forward to your comments. Please like the videos, share them, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you very
Super.
much.
Cheers, guys. See you soon.